Hey there, folks. Just clicking the invite button here for a second, giving people a chance to tune in. There's a class war happening in this country right now, and it can be a little bit hard to see. Like, if you don't understand it, if you're not familiar with the tactics that are being used, if you benefit from it, then you probably won't look at it, you won't see it, you won't recognize it while it's happening. But inside of the United States of America, there's a class war happening. And, indigenous people have been living in a class war since the Europeans landed. And it's no joke, it's a serious thing. And, we Anglo people, white people, we benefit from it. So we don't want to see it. We don't want to recognize the impact that it's having. But it's definitely having an impact. It's making life really hard for people who are not white, is what the class war is doing in this country. And you can see it if you look at prison numbers. Wherever you live right now, there's census numbers that reflect the prison population, and they tell you exactly the breakdown of people who are incarcerated. And it's a minority of white people. It's majority people of color. The reason for that being, law enforcement is racist as fuck. I mean, law enforcement is horribly, horribly racist. And it's not on accident. It's very much on purpose. And it's a part of class warfare. Law enforcement does the dirty work for the bankers and the lawyers and the property owners, and they mete out punishment to the poor, to the underprivileged, and to the people of color. By and large, poor people can't afford lawyers, and this is a part of the problem. Poor people can't afford representation to protect themselves from the corruption of the wealthy. And, see, just was clicking the invite button there. Sorry for the view. But this is the thing, is that if you are a poor person of color, you cannot afford a lawyer to protect yourself from a wealthy person. So a wealthy person, for instance, will hire a poor person of color to come and work on their house. They'll say, "Oh, I need my roof. I need a new roof. I need a new roof put on my house." And they'll hire a contractor to come and do it. And the contractor will come in and, bid the project and put a whole new roof on the house. And then the wealthy person is like, "I'm not going to pay you." And the contractor's like, "What do you mean you're not going to pay me? You have to pay me. I did the work." And basically what happens is the wealthy person says, "Look, you can take me to court, but I have an expensive lawyer and the judge is going to side with me anyway, so I'm not going to pay you." And this happens all the time, that people, entitled people, oppress people of color through fraud. And they just about are never held accountable for it. Even if you have the money and you have the resources, you have the time to go and fight in court, even then there's a high likelihood the judge is going to side with the wealthy person. And it plays out all across the country. So, I bring this up because I've been seeing some posts about Mexicanos. Mexicanos have been in this country before Europeans. Mexicanos are original indigenous people. And don't get me wrong, I recognize that, through Catholicism and colonization of Central and South America, there's a lot of European ancestry that's gotten mixed in there. But Mexicanos, Chicano people, are a part of the original population of this nation. There were Mexicanos here in the Willamette Valley long before there were any Europeans. Long before Europeans ever made it to the West Coast, there were Mexicanos here. And, it doesn't get taught in school. Like, a lot of this stuff, if you don't take the time to seek out this information, if you don't take the time to learn it, no one's going to tell you. You have to want to know these sorts of things in order to even find this information. So, I just wanted to talk a little bit about poverty and the effects of poverty and how poverty is used as a weapon against people. Because poverty, when you're a poor person, for one, law enforcement is allowed to discriminate against you. Also, property owners and businesses are allowed to discriminate against you. Then, the court system discriminates against you, and even lawyers discriminate against you. So if you're a poor person, it's really difficult to get fair representation and get a fair trial. So, again, this is not just speculation on my part. This is backed up by numbers. You can go look at the census numbers. It's not going to take you very long to find the information that I'm talking about, because the information is widely available. The thing is, people don't want to know this. They don't want to know it. They don't want to see this information. They don't want to hear it or talk about it. But this is the real deal. Where I live right now, in Corvallis, 75% of the people in this county qualify for food stamps. 75%. The remaining 25% do not qualify. So there's a huge income gap where 25% of the people essentially are affluent. They don't have any wants. They don't have any needs as far as hunger goes. And the remaining 75% of the people in this county are hungry. They don't have enough food. And, we try and pretend like everything's good. We look around us and we see whatever kind of new cars or new buildings, new houses. We see whatever kind of infrastructure development, build roads, schools, bridges. But by and large, most of the population, they're trying to just get enough to eat. You know what I mean? They're trying to just get enough to eat. So, like, all of the brand new apartment complexes, that's not for the poor people. All the brand new houses, the new car lots, whatever kind of, Saks Fifth Avenue or, whatever kind of shopping district, that's not for the poor people. So, it's hard to talk about class warfare, because class warfare is really subtle in this country as far as we don't pay attention to it. But if you want a good example of class warfare, I just put a post up from this article about public schools in now I'm forgetting the name. It begins with a B. Baltimore. So in Baltimore, the public schools have broken windows. They don't have heat or running water in a lot of these schools. But that's not in the wealthy, affluent neighborhoods. It's in the poor neighborhoods where they can't get their windows fixed and they don't have heat for their classrooms. And this is an extension of class warfare. They're also finding that students who haven't eaten breakfast can't learn. If you don't have enough food in your belly, you can't think straight. You can't understand. You don't have the cognitive abilities if you're hungry. So, you know, class warfare, another extension of class warfare is taking food out of the mouths of the hungry. And, you know, when the 45th POTUS talks about cutting entitlements, what they're talking about is they're talking about cutting food to hungry people. You know, we don't like to think about class warfare like that, but that's what's happening right now, is that food for hungry people is being cut, heating for poor people is being cut, medicine for the elderly is being cut, and meanwhile they're giving tax cuts to the ultra rich. So, you know, to me, it's very apparent that we live in an oligarchy. We live in a class-based society, and if you're not part of the upper crust, then people look down on you. And the funny part is, almost none of us are part of the upper crust. People like Oprah Winfrey, people like Donald Trump, you know, Harvey Weinstein. Pick your favorite media personality. These guys are making the big bucks. You know, they're the ones with the money. The rest of us, we're trying to just like have enough food on the table for our children, or have enough medicine in the medicine cabinet for our grandparents, or, you know, maybe have the money for a spare tire, or have the money for gasoline that day. But people don't think about that. You know, class warfare is much more subtle in this country. And even though people feel superior and look down on the people who are poorer than they are, none of us are in that upper crust. None of us are. There's only a very, very small number of people who are in that 1% of wealthy people. Except at this point, it's closer to 0.01%. And those people, they don't associate. You know what I mean? They send other people to shop for them. They don't come down and go to the city park. They don't come down to the library or go to the grocery store. People like that have other people to do their bidding for them. And, you know, okay, so I'm a very poor person. I don't have very much money at all. I have practically no money. So for me, you know, I'm okay with like this, you know. What's in there? There's some sort of trash in there. Oops. There's some sort of trash in there. I'm okay with that. But a poor person rummaging through the trash is heavily, heavily discriminated against. Heavily discriminated against. People will call the cops on you for rummaging through the trash or for begging. So, you know, for a poor person, just to survive is a criminal act. If you want to, specifically here in Corvallis, if you want to sit, lay, stand, eat, sleep, pray, then you could be considered a criminal. And it's an extension of class warfare, because the wealthy can pollute the environment. They can dump oil, they can dump, you know, whatever kind of bleaches. They can straight up dump mercury, lead, arsenic right into the environment. And you know who ends up paying for the cleanup? The poor. Because they take that money out of our taxes and then use it to clean up the wealthy's caustic mess. It's such a bizarre system, you know, it's a totally broken system, and it doesn't make any sense anymore. It doesn't make any sense. You know, we elect these people to public office to represent our goodwill, to try and, you know, keep things good. And what ends up happening is the people who we elect to protect us, to do our will, to make America great again, they're not doing it. They're perpetuating the class war and, in essence, oppressing the poor. So, you know, it's hard to figure out a path forward. It's hard to know what to do in a situation like this. But for me, it comes down to this. We need mutual aid and potluck culture. Mutual aid and potluck culture. Because what we get taught is we all have to be these islands of rocks. We have to be these islands by ourselves, separated, you know, and it's not going to work out for us if we keep living like that. You know, for me, I'm pretty comfortable living in a low status setting. Like, I don't need all the bells and whistles. I don't need the newest iPhone or Galaxy or tablet or whatever. For me, I'm pretty comfortable with low status, low income, survival status. But for a lot of people, they need all the modern comforts. And the only way that that's going to work out for us is if we support each other. So with all that said, I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you have a great rest of your day out there, and I will talk with you really soon.